Hi there, I'm Amanda Tapping.
And I'm Martin Wood.
And Jaclyn MacRae's here also.
I am.
And we are doing the iPod commentary for episode 207, the episode I directed. Thank you very much.
Yes. Now,
trick shot.
Yeah.
Watch this. Elevator doors close.
Elevator
no
doesn't move.
break in the scene. Elevator doesn't move because it's not a real elevator. It's a sound stage. But it looks like it's moving because lights are going to change. There we go. And and the doors open and we're somewhere else. Crazy. So we had this phenomenal crew who rolled a wall in while the boys were talking.
Very cool. You should actually watch this scene in green.
Yeah, because almost the entire thing is green screen. The only thing that's not is the silver drawers. That's it. Everything else
and
is
there was
green
a door,
screen.
and that's the only thing that actually exists in here. And this is one of those...
Bigfoot.
Oh, yeah, he's dead. This is one of those brilliant things that... brilliant visual effects that I really love.
Oh, yeah, he's dead.
No, but I like the fact that one of the things I'm going to start doing this right now, and you're going to hear me doing this a number of different times. The way that Amanda directs, because that's really what you want to hear. You don't want us to describe the scenes to you. I want to tell you about Amanda directing, okay? When Amanda did her Stargate, it was...
Sound of wallet opening, bills coming out.
Amanda doing Stargate was really interesting because she came up and she'd shadowed me on Jeremiah for a little while and then came up and sort of did her shot list and we talked a lot about it. On this one I said, hey, yeah, I can help you. And she goes, no. I went, what? She goes, no, I want to do this one on my own. And she did. And this is what's cool about this, is that when I get to see a show like this, where I see a director who is doing something different than what I would do, and when you shadow somebody, you tend to do it the same way they do it, because that's the way that you were mentored into doing it. In this case, Amanda took what she got from me originally back years ago in Stargate, and then went completely on her own with this. And what I like watching about this, and every time I watch sort of this show. Okay, so where we're at is as I'm watching this thing, I'm watching this thing come together that doesn't look like one of my shows. So it doesn't look like Martin mentored show. And I'm trying to be very complimentary in that because you have your own style. Mm-hmm. And your own style.
Well, you said that to me when I did Stargate too, because I kept the camera moving and did all this weird stuff.
But it's interesting to me to see an episode like this where you've done all the work, and this is your second show that you've ever directed.
Yeah, it was interesting because the first time I directed Stargate, I came up with my entire shot list, and I went to Martin's house and I said, "Can I just go through my shot list with you and make sure that it's okay?" And he said, "Well, yeah, okay." And you were very helpful, and
yeah, but we worked through the scenes together. It was much more of a collaboration. For a lot of the scenes. You had a lot of the shots on your own. It wasn't like I was giving you shots. But in this one, it wasn't like that at all. This is 100% Amanda Tapping from beginning to end. And it's impressive because this is the kind of show that the directors do after they've directed seasons of shows. You know? And I think where it comes from is that you have lots of directing experience you don't know about.
Because I sit on stage a lot.
Yeah, and it shows up. I mean, you sit in edits, you sit in that kind of stuff. That's a big one. Understanding the edit process and how you can do things in editing is a huge part of how your show comes together. Mm-hmm.
Now, and I also have to say that the performances in this episode, like, Robin does such an amazing job in this episode. Robert does an amazing job. Robert Lawrenson does an amazing job. Ryan, Agam. I mean, it was just... The cast was really phenomenal. Everyone was on board for this. Mm-hmm. Okay, so there's a blooper reel of this scene that you'll see. That now, after you've seen the blooper reel, you'll never be able to watch this scene the same way. Because I'm directing the episode. I'm supposed to be the supportive, strong one. And I kept giggling behind camera. So every time Robin came in the door for this scene, I was laughing my head off beside camera. And terrible.
And on the blooper reel in the DVDs, you'll see that.
You'll see.
He just keeps coming in. And he's straight.
He's straight. And he's like, stop. Let me do the scene. Giggle, giggle.
But again, the acting is the other thing that just is
yay, directed by Amanda Tapping.
That comes out in this when you actually watch the acting in this, and as somebody who works with these actors all the time, they're up a whole notch from where they normally are.
Mm-hmm. It's a great little story too. Everyone stepped up. Everyone was completely present and stayed on set and awesome. And Alan McCullough wrote a really nice little story, so it's very cool. And you'll see Magnus go slowly insane throughout the course of the episode, and that was Amanda going slowly insane through the course of shooting. I actually didn't. Once we started shooting, I really, really enjoyed it. It was the week leading up to it where I went nuts, and that's when we shot next Tuesday.
Right.
Oh no, we shot Steve's episode. Next Tuesday was after. This is one of my favorite shots in the whole show. When I read the script, I pictured this shot, and then I went to Bridget, and she showed me a drawing of what she envisioned the mausoleum to be, and I said, okay, I've got the shot.
It's a gorgeous, gorgeous shot. And I think the other thing is the timing on it is perfect. It's not, what happens in television is this. Camera pulls out, somebody comes in, scene starts, you keep doing it. You don't have the luxury of this moment right here where nothing is happening in the scene except the shot.
Yeah.
And that, for me, and even holding it still and holding it still and holding it still, now somebody comes in. That's something you don't have the luxury of. And you chose to take that moment, and it's your show, and you get to do that. It's again, it's not the pace that you normally work television at. And I think that's one of the reasons it's as beautiful as it is. You want to talk about the argument we had about the shot?
Yeah, we had a huge argument about the shot and the stairwells of Norco. Part of the thing was that we flare out of the last scene, and I just wanted to start on a flared window and pull back from that flare. And that's what we'd set up for, and that's what everyone understood was happening. And so there we are on our day, getting ready to shoot it. And Martin said, well, you really need to shoot outside the window and come through the window. And I fought it because I had a vision of how I wanted to edit the shot from flare to flare, and because I didn't have it in my VisFX budget to do yet another VisFX. And it was this huge argument of Martin, the shot is a good shot, and he said, yeah, it's a great shot, and my idea is better.
I didn't say my idea is better.
Yeah, you did.
I actually said...
No, you actually said my idea is better.
I said the reason I think you need
and
this is because...
the thing is I was very precious about it because I had envisioned this shot from the moment I read the script. So the whole pullback and pulling across the flowers and the casket and I'd envisioned it so succinctly in my head. But it actually, it's great.
My argument was in order to show where we are, because we've never been in a mausoleum in the sanctuary, was to show that it's on the sanctuary grounds, to show...
Yeah, but we had an establishing shot later that shows the mausoleum on the sanctuary ground. Anyway, it's a beautiful shot.
Okay.
But it was a big sort of last-minute rush with VisFX going, oh, okay, do we put a green screen out there? Do we put bushes out there? What do we put out there? And
so we're going to give you a number to vote.
Ryro does a great job. And here again, you see the Kate character becoming more a part of the family. Simple little moments like that, where I said to her, just give a shoulder squeeze, just like let's make you a part of this, more comfortable in the family.
One of the things that happens when you have an actor directing like this, and an actor who understands both sides of this, understands the acting part of it very, 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 very well, and the directing part of it on a visceral level, and on the level where Amanda has this as part of her genealogy. It's very much a part of your makeup. Is you've had to fix shows, you've had to edit shows, you've had to watch directors for hundreds of hours shooting television shows. So what happens, I think, with you is you concentrate on two things really well, whereas a director like me, I don't concentrate as well on the acting as I do on the directing part of it. And when I watch you direct, when I watch you in the director's chair here, I actually learned some stuff. I learned about the way that you communicate with actors is as an actor. And it's a skill set I haven't got. I mean, I was an actor for 7 years and then realized I sucked and couldn't possibly do it because I could never get to the place you have to get to as an actor. Because it comes second nature to you, and we talked about this, if you ever taught actors to act, what would happen is that you would, it comes intrinsically to you how to do it. And explaining it comes much easier to you than it does to somebody like me. The reason you're able to give the most poignant points to actors is because you understand their process. Me, I have to work around my process to get to their process. And I think that that's why it's as effective as it is. And that's why you get, especially with Robert Lawrenson, I think, you all the way through this with Robert, you got stuff that nobody else got with him. Or now that I've seen it, I can get it. But I didn't know how to do it until I saw you get it.
And he's lovely in this. This was a cool shot. I wanted to... we used the small weapons lab. It's a cool shot. It sounds so self-congratulatory.
No,
but
they are cool. Let me say them. That was a cool shot. How'd you do it?
We shoot the small weapons lab so many times. And in this episode, Henry is pretty much rooted here. And so my job to make it visually interesting was to try to find different ways to shoot this room. So outside the window, at night with the reflections, to try to give you sort of an interesting master, and shooting from up above, and there's a shot coming up that I'll explain when we see it, where Henry's being crowded around by all the people. And so it's just, the challenge was just to find different and interesting ways to shoot this room, because we shot, this room almost for a full day and a bit in our shooting schedule, and it was just trying to keep it interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like the way you get into it too. This is a great scene. I really like this scene. I like this angle especially on that.
Well, and this is what I have to mention Gord Verhoeven, because this episode looks beautiful.
He's our director of photography.
Yeah, Gord Verhoeven is our DP, and I would ask for something, and he would give me 10 times what I asked for, every time.
Mm-hmm.
And he made the sanctuary in this episode. There's a lot of daytime shots. There's a lot of these cool, very dimly lit nighttime shots. It is the richest I think I'd ever seen this sanctuary.
Mm-hmm. It really is. And I think that bespeaks the way that the crew reacts to you, because everybody went 175%.
Yeah, everyone was awesome. I
And
mean, we saw Will's office for the first time that scene. This is the first time we'd ever seen Will's office. And I actually ended up changing the architecture in Will's office because I didn't like where the window was. So forevermore, Will's office is how I decided to put it together.
Yeah.
Whoops.
No, it's all good.
But it actually worked out. But this, I mean, yeah, this was amazing.
And I think it's that everybody went the extra mile for you. And it's one of those things that...
And they don't go the extra mile for Martin because they don't really like him.
No, it's that I asked them to do it so often. It's just like, okay, everybody, extra mile day, and that's every day.
They don't really like him.
I think that's not true. I think they like me.
Jaclyn?
I think they like me to a certain extent. Don't
They
you?
love you.
Yeah.
Don't you?
They love you.
Yeah.
I'll do fewer episodes next year. We're back.
We're back.
And they love you.
And they love me. The crew loves you. I'm just kidding.
The crew loves me, but not as much as you. That's the whole thing.
Erica Serra from Eureka. Her and I met a few times at different Syfy events. So we were sitting in the airport lounge in New York waiting to catch the red-eye flight back to Vancouver. And we were just talking about the show, and she said, I'd love to do your show. And, lo and behold, a year later, I was like, hey, I'm directing. Erica can be on the show.
Hey, I want to ask you something. Why do you want to direct? Why do you want to do that?
Why do I want to direct?
People want to ask. They ask that question. Why do you want to direct?
Because I love the visual aspect of filmmaking. I love telling the story visually. I love connecting the dots from prep to post and beyond to iPod commentaries. But I love the visual aspect of the storytelling. And I like, this is a great story to tell. I love working with actors. And so I enjoyed the technical aspect and the sort of esoteric emotional aspect of it.
Now, I know the answer to this, but I want everybody else to hear it. What was the hardest part of it for you? What was the scene you dreaded the most?
Scenes that I was in.
The most?
In this episode?
Mm-hmm. I remember which one it was, because you...
In the basement, that one? Yeah.
You voiced it to me any number of times, that you really dreaded that scene.
Yeah. Because I didn't know how to shoot it, because we only had sort of a 2-wall set. So it was a really awkward scene to shoot, and there was a lot of people in it. This is cute. Cute moment.
But it's very effective. I mean, the basement works really well, because you're as far gone as we see you go. And I like it, because you end up doing the thing that you hate the most the best.
Right. See, again, this is another, trying to keep the camera moving in these scenes, find a way into the scene by spinning around with the camera, so you establish where you are, and then you establish where the physicality of where everyone is in the room by just a simple camera move. Because I'd like there to be some movement in all the scenes. When I directed Stargate, there was a ton of crane shots and a ton of Steadicam. And this show, there was a fair bit of Steadicam, lots of dolly, and 2 days of crane. So.
Now, with when you go into the process, and again, I'm asking you questions that I sort of asked you before for my own edification, but I think it's important on this kind of commentary to be able to say, you talk about the shot.
I envisioned this shot also from the moment that I read the script. Could we do a shot where the train comes at us and then we tilt down and we go down through the tracks, and we figure out where we are, and the camera drops down. And it's all one move, and this is all entirely green screen. The only thing there were the two actors, and the camera slowly drops down and then becomes an over of Kate onto our Remy character. So I went to Lee and Lisa, and I said, this is what I'd love to do. Can you do it? And they said, yeah. And so I was really freaked out because I had no frame of reference on how it would work. It was just green. Like there's a guy off to the side blowing them with this big fan, and it's all green. So kudos to Anthem, because this looks amazing.
Yeah.
And then with Remy is this amazing character, but the actor who plays him, Sandy, is like, he can do anything. So I was like, play it like this. Okay, now play it like this. Now make it a little creepier. So he did this thing at the very end where he sort of, and I just held on him because it just got a little bit creepy. So I just held the camera on him because I just thought it was hilarious. This scene, lots of people in the scene. How do you shoot a master with, 6 people in the scene in a narrow room?
See, now this is a difference between the way that I shoot and the way that you shoot. This scene is a really good example of it. You take a different tactic than I would for getting into the scene, and I really like it. I mean, it's a very effective blocking in here. And I remember when you first blocked it, you had it different, and then you said, this isn't working, and you put it down in front of me. And I went, and then you went, okay, wait a second, and you reblocked it, and then you picked the stuff off my desk and walked out. And I said, So.
How would you have blocked it?
Mm-hmm. How would you have blocked it, Martin?
I would have rolled off of this side. I wouldn't have gone through them like that and rolled off. And I actually would have gone the opposite direction. And it's one of the things that I find is really interesting. It's one of those quirky things that the director who's done lots of television will actually be able to admit this. Almost always, when I did Stargate, I would start describing a shot, and Brad Wright would look at me and go, no, they're going the other direction. And I would be describing how ships would be coming in or how they'd come through the gates and this, and he said, in my mind, it was the opposite direction. I always thought that was funny, and I thought, oh, it's a director thing. And when I read a script, I block out direction in my head. Mm. And when you read a script, you do the same thing. And any number of times, we always went the opposite direction. Mm. When I was looking at something, I'd go like this, and you go, no, but I'm coming around like this. And it's just the way that your brain works and my brain. So you would land on different sides with this. And it's very esoteric and very difficult to sort of understand. There is a scene coming up where I'll say, this is what I think I would have done in this scene, and you'll see how different it really is.
This one I wanted to end on this raking fork because I thought it was just ballsy and interesting too. And because the telepaths, the empaths, do this dip down with their heads and dip, which I came up with. We tried to figure out a way to make it so they were in sync as telepaths. And so that dip down where they take a breath in and come up is meant to say, okay, now we're in tune and we're connected. And so I wanted to end on this big, long raker to get that shot. We do a lot of coming around corners here to try to map out the hallways in the sanctuary. And because it's sort of a cool visual way to go off of blackness and into it's a cool transition to come off the wood of the sanctuary into the hall, open hall.
Well, that one was neat because you actually use the wipe of the
wipe of the actor.
The actor going through, and their coat becomes the wipe through.
Yeah.
So
we're back in this room again. We've got to find movement, so I keep the camera moving, and then just end in a really simple 2-shot. I don't go back on the piece of paper. I don't cover each of them individually because it wasn't necessary. It's this short little scene. Their connection is more important. Again, transition coming off the back.
It's the thing a lot of new directors never think about, by the way, just as a directing lesson right here for new directors. Always think about how you get in and out of the scene. When you're reading the script, think about, I'm leaving this, I'm going to this. So you leave Will standing there and go to Will standing there. And it doesn't work. Mm. So you have to think of a way to get out of and into a scene to maintain... this is Robert's best
This
scene.
is a great scene. Robert does a wonderful job here.
And I was sitting in the background, and a lot of this I ended up sitting where Amanda couldn't see me, so that she didn't know I was on set, and where a lot of the crew didn't, because the crew's natural inclination sometimes is to turn to me. About a day after, like when there's other directors on set, a lot of times if I walk onto the set, they just come and talk to me for whatever reason. In this case, about the second day, they stopped doing that. and they only went to Amanda. They didn't come to me at all, which I thought was great. But I still hid myself in a lot of this just watching it. I watched how you worked Robert in this, and I learned how to do it from you on this. So it was important for me to watch it without you knowing I was there, because sometimes when I walk in, you turn your back to me. And I wouldn't have been able to see it the way I saw it in this thing. So I actually was able to watch it and hear it.
I go, oh crap, he's back.
Yeah. So it's, but no, I didn't realize that the way that you talked to Robert and the way that you pulled that out of him was a really informative thing for me. And the way that you did it, do you remember what you said to him?
Not exactly, no.
You said he was way down. He wasn't hot at all. And you said to him, I need to feel your confusion in this. And I don't feel it at all. I don't feel like you're confused. It feels like you read the script.
Well, I think I said it a bit nicer than that, Martin.
Yeah, but
that sounds mean.
No, it was you were being nice to him. You said it's sounding like you read the script and you know what's going to happen. You're not confused about it. And he went, right. And he turned around and gave that performance.
Dun, dun, dun.
That was kind of what Amanda looked like on the first day. That kind of stunned look right there. And then that's how she looked after my comment just now.
Put down the knife. The work here is so good. I'm so proud of the boys.
We're back. Okay, here's the other thing that's really cool about this is, for a first-time director, this does not happen. In the edit suite, with Gord Rempel, who edited this, Amanda did things that a first-time director or a second-time director, a new director, never does. And that is insist that things get changed. Now, partly because you're a producer on the executive producer on the show, and you do it all the time to everybody's show, including mine.
I don't.
You do.
Very gentle.
You insist. No, you insist, and it's really good that you do this, that things change. And I think that what happened with this one, in an edit suite, the times that I would walk in and hear you doing it, I'm going, okay, I don't need to be here. Because, honestly, you took the reins on this. And Gord is a terrific editor. He's our main editor.
He's amazing.
He comes up with things and just throws ideas at you, and you just keep thinking, okay, well, let's try this. And you always go back to his idea.
He edited, like, day to day for me. He would see, we were, like, on a Friday night, and he came up and he said, I'm up to date on the edit. Here it is. He said, that never happens. This is great.
No, and he was enjoying it, and he was enjoying your input into it. But what you did in this was you insisted that this is the way I wanted to do it, and it was because you shot it with it in your head, and you forced it to be back to that. Now, a lot of new directors will never do that. And I think I have to stop using, from this point on, we're 23 minutes into the show, I have to stop using the word new director, because it doesn't fit. No, but it doesn't fit. There's going to be people out there who are directing for the first time or third time or fifth time that won't be able to do what you did. And it's because of the experience that you've got. Here's a really good example. This is a fabulous example of...
We shot this in 2 shots.
How I would not have shot this scene. Okay?
This is so funny. It's my favorite line in the whole thing. Right? Best line.
Yeah. She invented it. That's why she says it's the best line.
No. But I just think it's so funny. You sort of get the sense that Maggie, woo! And Robin's face was like, ooh, ah.
The choice in here to do this, to stay on this side of it and not go over to Robin's side. You've only cut back to him once. Yeah, but you cut back to him once. That's all, so far.
But I did shoot the other side of it.
You did, but it's in the edit suite. In the edit suite, you insisted on taking out 2 cuts that Gord had in this scene. And you wouldn't let him go back to Robin.
That's not true.
It is. It absolutely is.
That sounds mean.
No, it's not mean. It's a professional choice, and you did it. You made the better choice on this. The better choice was to stay where you were, play it on his back, because the audience doesn't want to go around to him and see him. They don't need to.
Note to self: never turn your back on a crazy lady.
No.
Oh,
especially one with sharp elbows.
Yeah, pointy elbows. Okay, we shot this. It's hilarious. You'll see a chair right there. We shot this scene, I don't know how many times, and Damien Kindler came down to set, sat in that chair. The best take we ever did, and nobody noticed him. And the best take was Damien sitting in that chair going, la, 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 la. Totally. And it was like, that one worked. And we were like, we could see Damien. Oh, am I in the shot? Hilarious. He's so cute. In an imbecilic kind of way.
So one of the other things I need to mention on this is that Amanda did this under budget and faster than I've ever shot a show. Okay? Once again, we talk about when directors come into series, they almost always go over. And the reason they almost always go over is because they have these wish lists that are, I need to shoot this and I can't compromise anything, and they try and squeeze too much into a day. Amanda knows exactly how much can fit in a day, and I hate you.
Oh, there you have it, folks. There you have it.
Mm-hmm.
There you have it.
Yeah.
Truth. The truth will set you free, my friend.
How am I free from that?
I don't know. Now you feel good. Now you feel better. You got it off your chest. You hate me.
For that.
Oh, for that.
Yeah.
Okay. Woo!
Yeah, all you have to do is your next show, just shoot it long, and I'll like you again.
I did not shoot this.
No.
Because that was a test for the red.
Yeah, it was when we were testing the camera at the very beginning of the season.
Okay, here's this basement that I thought would be really cool, and I asked for them to build it like with slats so I could shoot through the slats, and it is actually cool, but it was really hard because there's really only 2 walls to this room, so it's very hard to shoot it.
That's creative. Anything beyond that left-hand side is just black. It's the rest of the studio.
Ooh.
That, because this is so un-Magnus, this freaked you out too, I think. This is one of the things that may have, but this is the scene that bothers you so much. This one and the next one.
Well, this one not so much as the next one was hard because we had all these guys coming down the stairs and all this action, and we just didn't have enough set.
Well, I think that probably because Magnus doesn't fit in your mouth very well with this, because it's
it's partly that, but it's also, I was more frustrated by by how I was going to shoot the set. Because it looks really cool. It looks like you're in the basement of an old building where there's little storage lockers, and but I needed an extra wall.
And I think one of the things that happened here was one of those things that I expected to happen to you lots more, and it's again one of those things where you go into something and you suddenly realize how much information somebody really has. And I'm complimenting you again on how good you are at doing this. It sounds like this is just a love fest all the way through here. I'm actually giving the audience my perspective on this, though, because what happened in this is you got into that scene and changed your blocking.
Mm.
And you changed it because you were getting input from a couple of different people that were saying, the DP was saying this, and the camera operator was saying this, and you realized the mistake of doing that, and you just shut everything down and went back to a blocking you were comfortable with. That doesn't happen. A lot of times the reason people go over and the reason people get hamstrung in scenes is because, and this happens to everybody, it happens to me all the time, and I never admit it, is that somebody will make a suggestion, you go, that's a cool idea, and you change your blocking, and you forget that there's a reason why when you prep the scene that you did it like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that reason suddenly comes crashing home to you at some point halfway through your shooting, and now you do this incredibly loud tap dance that the whole crew can hear. And they're going, man, he's doing Mr. Bojangles there, or she's doing Mr. Bojangles there, to try and recover from it. You started this scene, and I remember you came upstairs and you were so mad because you had compromised what you thought, and you went back downstairs and changed it back to what you wanted, and you did it the way you wanted to. And that's, it's again, when you talk about how someone directs a scene and how somebody directs a show, the things you did in here, one of the reasons that it impressed me so much, and it impressed all of us, because everybody walked away from here going, man, this is one of the best shows we've ever done.
Cool shot. Sorry. So that was Jaclyn. This is a cool shot. Dead bridge.
And you
So
and
I ended up doing this in one shot, essentially, plus the big wide. Because it didn't need coverage. And to cover it would have meant shooting back into the studio, putting up another green screen, and it just wasn't necessary. So this is Vancouver, Vangroovy, or Vanctuary, as a fan said, which I think is cool. This was the scene I was the most frustrated by in the whole show. Because all these people, here they come, and we only have 2 walls, and so in behind we put blacks and sort of built half another wall in behind, and tried to figure out how to cover it and keep it chaotic and keep Magnus, her intensity and her insanity going, and the confusion that everyone had. So Declan really feels like he's in the right. Will's what the ... So is Kate, and then these 2 guys, one of whom bruised me badly. I'm pointing to the screen and you can't see me pointing. But one of those men grabbed my arm roughly If you see him on the street, punch him.
Okay, back. And I want to tell directors who are thinking about becoming directors why that was so difficult. 2 walls and a change of direction.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a north-south. It's not they're coming at you, they're leaving you. It's a T rather than an I.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have that T, when you change direction like that, and you suddenly start going east-west out of a north-south blocking, which won't make a lot of sense to people who don't care about directing or who eventually wanted to be directors, but now I'm crushing their dreams. But when you change direction like that, and it's absolutely necessary for the scene, it's the right choice to do. That's what screws you up, is because now suddenly you're into a huge amount of setup to try and get to the scene that you want because you've changed direction.
Because here we are again doing an outside the room shot, but what Anthem did was lay in this amazing reflection of the city. So I popped out to that shot a number of times in this scene, the outside the window shot, because I didn't know what the reflection was going to look like, and it's very busy and it's very beautiful, but it's distracting. So off the top, it's great. You're outside the window of the sanctuary. Now what I've done is I've actually framed up tighter in the edit so that we don't have to use the reflection because it was too distracting.
They showed it to us with it done.
They showed it to us with the reflection every time, and it was way too much. I just didn't realize the reflection would be that present. So it was great to have it off the top, but now what I've done is sort of I've tightened the shot outside the window so we don't have to use it. And here's all the big information that's going to lead you into our season finale. And poor Erica had to say a million big words in one sentence.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, I had no sympathy.
But, exactly.
You think that's bad? Come on.
I got to tell you guys, to having watched Amanda now for 13 years do the things
I'm
that she
so
does.
sorry that you had to.
No, it's okay. It's all right. Your mom still pays me. So it's. But the thing is that having watched her as an actor for so long, and then seeing her start to direct like this, what happened to me was I just thought, oh my God! And I have to tell you something else. At the same time Amanda was going into directing this thing, she came into the office, sat down, and pitched Damien and I another series that blew us both away. In fact, Damien Kidler stood up and said, I've not heard a pitch for a series like that good, ever. And he was very sincere about it. So in the course of 2 weeks of doing all of this, Amanda Tapping actually elevated herself to the status of super goddess in our eyes.
It's a high pedestal, and I fear the fall.
I didn't want you to hear that.
Right.
But so disregard the last thing I said.
So here's this shot I was telling you about where I start on the screen and I pull back. And the reason I did it this way, which is sort of an odd way to get into a scene with all these people, is I wanted Henry to feel claustrophobic. I wanted it to feel like everyone was crowding in on him and the pressure was on him. Because he has spent almost the entire episode in this little room. And now suddenly everyone's in there. And I wanted it to feel claustrophobic. I wanted it to feel tense for him. And because the information we're about to receive, may the Lord be extremely thankful, is hugely important. So, Robin's so good.
Yeah.
This performance is so good. There's so much nuance to what he does in this show. Not that there isn't always, but there's like a line in this scene, and the way he said it, I was like, wow, I've never heard Will talk like that. It was very cool.
Yeah, I think that and Robin said this himself. Robin was supposed to be in this iPodcast, but today's his birthday.
Today's Robin's birthday!
Yeah.
Yay!
The day
Happy
that we're
birthday,
doing this
Robin!
is actually, you can figure out backwards from when we did this, how close to the air date we actually did this.
November 19th!
Yeah, it airs tomorrow.
It airs tomorrow.
Yeah.
But happy birthday, Robin.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we are in his office. So that window that is beside him, that's shedding all this beautiful light on him, was actually somewhere else in the room. And there was just a wall there. And it didn't make sense to me. And so I had our set deck people move it around so that window ended up there so we could have light into his desk. And we ended up actually building an alcove with a little couch in the back for those more intimate psychoanalytical sessions that he does. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have one day.
With an abnormal. It's
abnormal.
photosensitive.
Photosensitive.
Yeah.
There you go.
They can't have the light, so they just he shuts the drapes and they sit I'm interested in which books he's leaving.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because it's like he's selective about which books he's taking.
Just certain encyclopedia volumes, like C to E. He just he has no interest in anything beginning with C, D, or E. And he left PQ.
PQ?
Yeah.
Because there's nothing that's abnormal.
There's nothing that's interesting to him in there. Not that there's nothing abnormal. He's got issues with the letter Q.
Right.
Oh, I said it.
On his birthday.
On his birthday.
You told everybody
I told
on his
everyone.
birthday that's
Q.
yeah.
Okay, so here again came the issue of how to shoot this. Simply because this is really just telling the story. This really has to be about Will and this moment for him and his goodbye. Not so much about Magnus. So we have this beautiful reflection, but it's not supposed to be dominating, which is why that big black thing in the background isn't full height. Otherwise it would look too contrived.
Here's a scene that I wouldn't have shot like this.
Okay, tell us how you would have shot it.
I would have been over top of Magnus, and watched him come forward, not knowing where we were, not knowing where we were, and then drop down over Magnus, and see Magnus like that. And when I saw how you did this, I didn't like it when I first saw it. Mm-hmm. But because you're right, Magnus is doing nothing in this. It's not Magnus pacing, it's not Magnus doing anything like that. It's just his POV of Magnus. Your way is better than mine. And but it's not.
I wanted to create the separation and the loneliness that he feels. Like he can't even connect with her.
Right.
Because she's through this glass, so.
Okay, we're back. Here's why I would have done it the way I did it, was for that very last moment. The entrance would have been incidental to me. It would have just been getting into the scene. It would have been that we're over top of it when he finishes his line, and suddenly she starts to do it. And it's very immediate, and it's right on top of us. That's why I would have done it like that.
Mm-hmm. And it totally would have been great.
Yeah, but
it might have been better.
No, because the beginning of the scene would have suffered for that one part of the shot. Mm. So again, I'm being self-effacing, not because I think that I need to say you had a better shot than I did. It really shows up when I watch the scene that you did it.
It just goes to show you there's a million different ways to skin a cat, and that's part of the fear when you start directing is, what if it's the wrong way to shoot it?
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to make a different point.
Oh, my favorite shot of the whole episode. Yep. Ah! Okay, so we had to cut into this, which was a drag. But this became, we were going to have to take out one wall of the mausoleum to get the techno crane in there. And I said, no, we can do this. Gord Verhoeven, I wanted light blasting in. And Robin was standing in front of the casket. And Gord said, have him put his arms out to the side. And he hadn't even started rehearsing the scene yet. We were just sort of setting it up. And so I did, and then you've got that incredible image.
This is a continuation of the exact same
So
shot.
this is a continuation of that first shot, the back shot. I just followed him around. But we had to cut into it, sadly. So this is the continuation of that shot. And the music, Andrew Lockington, God bless you, is amazing. The music is so amazing. So then here is how do I get into this? Every scene where I use one of these little cutaways, I was aware that I was going to have to go back to this. So I shot the exact same close-up, 100 mil, same distance, so that when we got to editing this, I had those shots. So in every scene, I had them marked off. Make sure you get that close-up for that line, at this angle, at this lens. Okay, here's where behind-the-scenes blooper reel will make you laugh. He hits the table so hard, and he really hurt his hand. And he did this whole response to it that is hilarious. And I cannot watch this scene without thinking of him going, oh. And I kept making him hit the table. I was like, yeah, I need another hit on the table. Come back in, Robin. Until the crew was laughing so hard that he was onto us. So, good sport. Wow. It's very bright. This is interesting because we see the sanctuary in daylight a lot in this episode. And it's interesting to see rooms like this where you're so used to little lights and softness to have it just blasted open. Oh, hey, they're doing something next door, like blowing up the sun or something.
You won't be able to hear it. We're doing this where we actually mix the sound for this thing. They are actually blowing up the sun.
Yeah, we hear it sharp sound doing this.
So the original shot that you had to start that scene was that high shot, but you ended up holding the move down.
Holding the move down and then coming back into the high,
which actually gave you a change of
A
scene.
change of scene.
Again, that's the transition we keep talking about. It was that kind of transition from scene to scene happened inside this scene, which I think is really cool.
And this too, the playback. We have these guys who are amazing with our playback. There was way too much information on this piece of playback, and so I had them scale it right back and just have the flashing light and the location. This was one of my scariest shots. This is a techno crane shot where we come up off Erica's feet, slide up the truck, and ta-da, Port of Djibouti, or as I like to call it, the Port of Djiburnaby. And it's one big shot. So our actors have to scoot around that truck super quick, get there. A lot of moving parts in this shot, as you can see. But it actually worked out brilliantly. It worked out great. It was one of those where we had very little and didn't know where to put the yellow truck and didn't know, we had lots of issues with this. Didn't know how big the container was going to be, didn't know how it would work. Wonderful actor, Michael, here. He did a great job. So this, a lot of this is vis effect. We did have a piece of steel that I had built that we could smash down so that we could get that dust effect and have the effect of the big door opening on them. And now here it's just chaos is about to ensue. And the light was changing, the sun was coming around, the light was changing, and it was a quick, get these shots, panic, because it took a long time to set up the crane shot, obviously.
Yeah, and you have to understand that ship is actually the side of our
It's the side of our studio, draped in tarps and green.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of discussion about the placement of that yellow truck, and it moved a lot before we finally put it there. Snarky.
Mhm.
Erica. Ooh, a good moment. This is a great moment for her. It's so simple, the way she played it. Like, nuanced. It's great.
Yeah. And I like the fact that you hold those looks at the end. Again, the inclination is to get out of the scene because it's done. We talked about this last night when we were
Driving to the airport.
Driving to the airport, yeah. Was how this is not Magnus.
Right.
Right here.
And this is not Will, too. Like, it is, but it's they've gone through this thing. So Magnus is still recovering. So there's a softness to her and a stillness to her that sort of belies the fact that she's better, but she's maybe not 100% yet, but she's getting there. And it's very sweet. And she's so sure of her team.
Mm-hmm. And it's the smiles. It's the looks.
Yeah. And it's Robin's, freak out and laugh. It's Kate's laugh. It's this lovely level of comfort.
We watch you go through Pavor Nocturnus and the horrendous stuff that you go through in the end of it.
Yeah.
And in the very last scene, Magnus is Magnus.
Right.
Right? We watch you go through this, and you've just had this bug taken out of you, and we see Magnus smiling in a way that she doesn't normally smile. Right. And then in 208, the one that follows this, the very end of it has Magnus doing a laugh that is Amanda's laugh as Magnus, which I loved.
We'll talk about that when we do the podcast for 208, but there's a... Okay, so this is a lovely scene. This is Ryan and Chris. This is exactly what these guys do. Beautiful connection, tenderness, friendship. It's so well done. And so here we are at the end of the show. And I said to Chris, do this. And then the door shut.
Yeah.
I was really proud of that.
You should be proud of everything that happens in this show. That is one of the best shows that we've done, and that's because it came from Amanda Tapping's head on the screen.
And it was just a nice script to get to work with. I was very lucky. I had a nice, safe, succinct little episode. Yay, everybody. Yay, crew. Yay, cast. Yay, team.
Good job.
Good job to you, too.
I didn't do that.
No, you didn't. Sat here and talked about my show.
Oh, yeah, easy. Okay. We're done.